Hi, this is Billy Reeder with Arkansas Tech University, and what I am going to do today is show you how to get started with Adobe Premiere. Premiere is video editing software, and it's really great software. It's been around for quite a long time. Biggest competitor out there is most likely Final Cut Pro. They're pretty equal as far as what they can do, but depending on who you ask, depends on which one they like better. I personally like Premiere, and with their latest upgrade in CS6, there's some really good functionality that they've moved in there. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we want to do is when we open up the software, we're going to get this window, and you want to click New Project. From here, this is really important. We don't want to save anything on our university computer. So if you're using the network drive, there's not enough space allocated to students to use this. So you have to use some sort of external drive, whether it's an actual larger drive or just a simple flash drive. We want to make sure we select that, because if you don't and everything goes to your network drive, it can actually lock up your software and cause a lot of problems. So let's click Browse, and I'm actually going to go down here to Removable Disk, and I've created a folder called Demo, and I'm just going to select that, and that's where I want everything to go. Alright, and I'm going to give this a name, and I will just go ahead and call it Demo as well. Hit OK. Okay, this part is important depending on which camera you're using or what type of video that you've recorded will depend on what you're going to use. Non-HD video would fall under the DV NTSC. Standard 48 kilohertz is typical regular old TV size. Widescreen, we've got different options there as well, but actually what I'm going to be doing, because the video I've shot actually comes from a Canon DSLR, it's 1080p. So I'm actually going to come down here and select 1080p 24 frames per second, because that's actually what I shot this as. So depending on what you use, you always want to use either some sort of digital DSLR or the NTSC. So got that. Sequence. I'm going to call this one Downtown. Hit OK. Now we're getting somewhere. Alright, so these are the basic points of Premiere. You've got your preview monitor, which is right here, and you'll see some things in here. You have your program monitor over here, and then you have your timeline down here. There's lots of things around here. When you bring in all your file folders, they will be sitting over here. You've got all kinds of tools and options down here. And even more timeline tools over here, audio tracks over here, or monitor over here. If you notice up at the top, you've got a source, and so you actually have the source video. And actually I'm just going to go ahead and bring something in now so you can get a little bit better idea. So we'll go to File, and we'll click Import. And I'm actually going to go back to my removable disk, because that's actually where my video is. Click North Little Rock, and I'm going to click Streetcar. And this brings in the rough file footage, and it brings it right over here. Now the way to access this, you can preview it up here in this little button. You can click and drag it straight down into the timeline. But actually what I like to do is drag it over into the source monitor, and once you do that, just drag and drop, and you'll see it here. And you can come down here at the bottom, and if you want to scroll through it or scrub through it, you can actually just move right along. And so what I want to do is find a good spot that I can start and stop it. So let's just say I want to start right there. I'm going to go right here, select an endpoint, and then I'm going to drag it over here. Just wait till that gets right out of frame. Right there before that truck comes in. And I'm going to set that as an out point. Now you may have noticed there was a save project thing that just came up. One of the awesome things about Premiere is that it will auto-save about every 60 seconds, so you don't lose anything if your computer should block up. Alright, so I've set an in point, and I've set an out point, and you can see that on the timeline right here. Right here. And so to get that down in the timeline, I'm actually just going to click and drag. And there it is. Now we see it here. Now, one of the things you may notice is this looks really small in this timeline, and that's kind of annoying because it's hard to work with. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come down here to the bottom, click this little slide, and pull that out. And now you can see you've got your video track and your audio track. Lots of things you can do. You can add lots and lots more tracks. You'll notice that this is a stereo track because it has these two little gizmos right here. And you can click and you can drag this thing around all you want. Sometimes if this is taking up too much space and you want to compress it down, click this little triangle and it'll compress it so you don't have to look at it as much. If you're working with it, you want it opened up so you can see it. So beyond that, if you want to, you decide, well, I didn't really cut it where I wanted it, you can also come over here to the edge, and if you notice that little mouse turns into a bracket, you can click and drag and let loose, and it still accesses the rough footage, so you're not losing anything. So I can kind of tweak it to find out exactly where I want it. Right there, before that truck comes in. And that's where I want it. Okay, good. Now, let's go ahead and bring in another clip. File, import, and let's grab flowers. And I'm going to do the same thing, just click and drag it over there, and I've got this pretty shot of some flowers sitting outside. And let's see, what do I have? Got a little rack focus action there, so I'm going to start there. A little further. Go there. And set my out point. And I'm going to drag that into the timeline as well. Okay, this is one of those points that I differ from some other editors. A lot of people will do all their transitions and keep everything, the video tracks, all the same, and they'll throw the transitions right here in the middle. I don't actually like to do that. You have, almost as many tracks as you can possibly want, so why not use them? So I actually like to break them up and stagger them up. So I'm actually going to click and drag that track up there, and I'm going to drag the audio track down, and I'm going to open that up, that way I can see it. Now this is what we just simply call a straight cut. So if I click play over here, I can see how it comes together. Well, what I actually want to do is add a transition. So I'm going to come over here, and I think I'm actually going to expand that clip just a little bit longer and pull it where it overlaps this other. And then, if you notice, whichever track is on top, that's the point that will take dominance. Just like in Photoshop when you have layers, think of your video tracks as layers. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to pull it up, and so the moment it hits that point is when you start seeing it. So that's where I want to actually add my transition. So I'm going to go over here to the left to Video Transitions, click that, and there's lots and lots of options. Click Dissolve, and then my favorite is Cross Dissolve, and if you notice, it already has a red kind of highlight around it. So click and drag that over, and once you put it right over the edge of the end, you'll see that it changes color. So let go. Once it does that, just let go, and you can see the transition. Now, here's the thing you need to remember with this, is your transition has to be the same, expand the same distance over the timeline as the overlap. So I'm actually going to click the transition, drag it back until they line up, and then I have a nice clean dissolve. So there we go. I can even pull that out, make it a little bit longer. So now we end up with and this is your basis for editing. So that's a good place to start. Whenever you get this set, make sure you save it, and I'll catch you next time.